we are taking charge of every facet of our lives, and this is Take Charge with Sophie. Last week, we started with common mistakes that people do in courtship that are deadly to their destinies and their future. We started by talking about financial commitments that people make in courtship that can affect them negatively if the relationship goes wrong. In today's episode, we are going to talk about a very controversial topic in courtship, which is sex. I saw this post on Facebook that said, pastors are tired of begging married people to sleep with themselves and tired of getting singles from sleeping with themselves. I don't know if you got it right. So the married people don't want to sleep with their spouses, but the single people who are supposed to keep it pure, keep it clean, end up sleeping with their would-be partners. And this is something that we really need to look at. I mean, sex is very beautiful in marriage and all that because it honors God. But in relationship, even if you are not a Christian, almost all the religions advocate for chastity, advocate for purity in marriage and in relationships. The reason why, having sex in relationship can be very, very deadly, especially before marriage, is that, it's something that affects your body. As Christians, the Bible says that your body is a temple of God. And then if you actually destroy it, He will also destroy you. And the sin of fornication is actually done against your own body. And sometimes people downplay it and say that, oh, this is nothing and that kind of thing. But there are lots of things that happen when people have sex. And in relationship, people end up having sex with their partners. And if that relationship does not lead to marriage, you said that, okay, I've been used. That's what the person will say. Most of the time, our sisters will say that the guy has used me and all that. But why would you allow yourself to be used? And sometimes people sleep with themselves and they end up getting married anyway. But at the end of the day, there are certain dangers that comes with having sex, even in a marital setting. You can get pregnant, especially if you do it unprotectedly. You don't protect yourself, you have sex with someone, you get pregnant. And if you get pregnant, most of the time, what we see is that pregnancy comes with a lot of responsibility. So a lot of our young men, out of fear, would deny that I am not responsible for this pregnancy. And this leaves the lady with a lot of emotional torture they have to deal with being single. And even when you're married, there's stress with pregnancy, there's sickness here and there. You need a lot of support around you. But because of fear, the young man will say that, okay, I am not settled. And will tell you that, okay, I will deny the pregnancy. And once it is denied, they try to even cut contact with you. They will not be talking to you throughout that time. And you, as the lady, will have to now bear all the pain throughout the pregnancy till you give birth. After several years, they come back and say that, oh, this is my child, I was young, I didn't know what I'm doing, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, part of your life has been hurt because you've had a child out of wedlock. There's nothing, I wouldn't say there's a lot of people were born out of wedlock and all that. But at the end of the day, don't give your child that kind of identity and all that. So if the person denies the pregnancy, you go through the stress of handling it. Mostly having sex before marriage, like in relationship, has a lot of negative impact on women, and I'll be touching more on that. So what if the pregnancy that you actually had as a result of the sexual intercourse was an ectopic pregnancy? One thing that we know is that when people are pregnant, my married couples are pregnant, they are so happy, they are eager, they'll go to a hospital to go in. After confirming they are pregnant, they'll go and do a scan to see the gestation and all that. And that first scan will show where the baby is lying. But when it comes to young people who are not married, sometimes they are not well resourced to actually go and do the scans and all that. And even if they are, because it's not something they know, it's not something they even want to discuss with the next person, they keep the pregnancy to themselves. And if it's an ectopic pregnancy, within a short period of time, there could be a rupturing of the fallopian tube, and that one too can be cut. Imagine somebody you have not married, and then out of a sexual encounter with such a person, you've lost a fallopian tube. How do you explain that to your future husband? I mean, you can't say that it cannot be known. It can be known, because if you take off your dress, the scar will be there. What kind of surgery did you do? And then it will come out. And even if the person is not so sharp to even find out, if you do a pelvic scan, I mean, some will-be couples want to do some form of pelvic examination to be sure that whoever they are married to has all the organs, maybe the womb, the fallopian tube, and everything in place before they settle with them. So if they do and they find out, what will happen to you? So those are some of the things. One other problem that comes with having sex in relationships that are not marriage is that when people have those sex and then there's pregnancy, some guys push the young person, or even some people have the financial muscle to take care of their pregnancy, but they end up aborting it because they feel like people are going to mock them because they are not married and then they are pregnant. So, and then also in the church, people are going to ridicule them that they have done the unthinkable and all that. So at the end of the day, they end up opting for abortion. The sad thing is that sometimes one person in a relationship, a lady ends up aborting like 3 or 4 times for somebody who they are not married to. And if you have aborted 3, 4, 5 times for one guy, and this guy gets up one day and tells you that I'm not going to marry you, what will you do? One other challenge that comes with having sexual intercourse, in a relationship that is not a marriage relationship, is that if you could contract sexually transmitted diseases. That is, if you do it without protection, like condom and all that. So if you get a sexually transmitted disease like gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV, chlamydia, and people even get vaginal warts, and even the men also have their version, and all those other ones. When you contract this kind of diseases, some of them are very difficult to treat. It lives with you. And some of them too, people don't get to know about it, so it ends up going up, destroying the reproductive organs down there, and some even climb up to even affect other organs as well for them. So by virtue of you engaging in a sexual intercourse with someone who is not your husband, and then you end up contracting this kind of disease that will go a long way to destroy your future, and also can even end up killing, especially if you have to live with a sexually transmitted disease like HIV, where you have to be taking drugs every day and all that. So it's very important that we guard ourselves, we protect our purity in relationships, because at the end of the day, if you contract sexually transmitted diseases, it's very uncomfortable. Some of them are difficult to treat, and then a lot of them end up destroying the person. Mostly the victims are the women. So as much as possible, we need to keep our gas on in relationship. One aspect of having a sex in relationship that is not a marriage relationship is that it bless your judgment. You know, some guys are very good with sex. So when you have a sexual encounter with them, it's like that kind of enjoyment that you get. It's like someone says it's beyond the moon. So because of that, even if the person is smoking, the person is, doing something that you know that you don't want the father of your child to do, you continue to stay with the person. And another one is that the male version, if the lady is able to give you very good sex, all the styles that you want and all that, at the end of the day, if the person's character is questionable, you forget the fact that this person cannot raise godly children for me. Because of the sexual pleasure you get from the person, you continue to live with the person, and then make a mistake at the end of the day. Sexual intercourse is one of the ways that demons are transferred. I know people will debate this and all that. So if you are going to be having sexual intercourse with people and be transferring generational problems because of that one encounter, it becomes very challenging. So we need as much as possible to guard our hearts in our relationship. There are a lot of things that we can do to enjoy pleasure in relationship apart from having sexual encounters, going out together, keeping each other's company. I mean, making sure that we help the person grow. If there's something the person is excited about, the person wants to pursue and is feeling lazy, take the advantage and then push the person to become a better version of him or herself and doing other things. But if you enter into relationship without goals and it's all about pleasure, that is when you end up using sex as one of the things that will give you all the pleasure. I mean, sex is sweet, but at the end of the day, it has to be had in marital settings because it has what? Consequences. Thank you so much for making time to watch this episode. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and press the notification button so that anytime we post, you'll be able to see and then enjoy the life transforming content we create for your sake. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.